At exactly 2:07 a.m., the lights on the 34th floor of Orion Technologies should have been off. They never were. Elena Whitmore stood alone in her glass-walled office, heels kicked off under her desk, blazer draped over the back of her chair. The city stretched beneath her like a living circuit board, white headlights flowing through black streets, towers blinking red at their peaks. She had built this view from nothing. Every contract, every late night, every sacrifice had led here. And yet, sleep refused to come. Elena was 42, CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech logistics firms in the region, and according to every magazine profile written about her, she had won. What those articles never mentioned was the silence that followed success, the way the building echoed after midnight, the way her thoughts grew louder when everyone else went home. She was closing a financial report when she noticed movement on the security monitor mounted near her desk. Someone was still in the building. That wasn't unusual in itself. Cleaning staff worked late. Security made their rounds. But something about this caught her attention. The camera showed the East Wing corridor on the 12th floor, an area that had been shut down for renovation 3 months ago. A lone figure pushed a janitor's cart slowly down the hallway. Elena frowned. The renovations were finished weeks ago, but that floor remained unused. No offices. No reason for anyone to be there at this hour. She leaned forward, eyes narrowing. The man paused near a door at the end of the corridor. He looked around, then reached into his pocket, not for cleaning supplies, but for a small key. He unlocked the door and slipped inside, pulling the cart with him. Elena sat back, her pulse quickening. That door led to an old conference room that had been decommissioned years earlier. The room wasn't on any current access list. Even she didn't have a key for it anymore. She checked the timestamp. 2:09 a.m. For reasons she couldn't explain, Elena stood up. She told herself it was about security, liability, responsibility. A CEO didn't ignore strange behavior in her own building. Still, as she slipped her feet back into her heels and grabbed her coat, there was a deeper pull, curiosity mixed with a faint, unsettling feeling that this wasn't just a janitor taking a break. The elevator ride down felt longer than usual. Each floor number lit up slowly, dragging the moment out. When the doors opened on the 12th floor, the air felt different, cooler, quieter, heavy with the smell of dust and old carpet. The lights were dim, set to energy-saving mode. Her footsteps echoed as she moved down the corridor, heart beating louder with every step. The janitor's cart was parked outside the conference room. Elena stopped. Up close, she could see details she hadn't noticed on the monitor. The cart was old, scratched, clearly personal, not company-issued. Inside it were cleaning rags, yes, but also a thermos, a folded blanket, and something else partially hidden under a cloth. Books. Thick ones. She reached the door and hesitated, her hand hovering inches from the handle. From inside came the faint sound of a voice, not talking to someone else, but reading aloud. Calm, steady, educated. This was no ordinary janitor. Elena slowly opened the door. The room was lit by a single desk lamp. Papers were spread across the long table, neatly organized, filled with handwritten notes, diagrams, and printed documents. At the center of it all stood the janitor, back turned to her, coat removed, sleeves rolled up. He was teaching an empty room. And if the data model is adjusted here, he said softly, pointing at a whiteboard covered in complex equations, the entire supply chain becomes 20% more efficient. Elena froze. Those equations, she recognized them. They were variations of a problem her top engineers had been struggling with for months. The man turned. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither spoke. Up close, he was older than she expected. Mid-50s, maybe. Dark circles under sharp, intelligent eyes. His expression wasn't fear or guilt, it was resignation, as if he'd known this moment would come eventually. I was wondering when you'd follow me, he said calmly. Elena's throat went dry. You know who I am, she managed. He nodded. Of course I do, Ms. Whitmore. It's your company. She looked around the room again. The books, the notes, the whiteboard filled with brilliance that didn't belong in silence. Then she asked the only question that mattered. What are you doing here at 2 in the morning? The janitor exhaled slowly. Trying not to disappear, he said. And in that moment, Elena realized her company, and her life, were about to change in ways she never saw coming. Elena closed the door behind her, the soft click sounding louder than it should have in the empty room. Trying not to disappear, she repeated, folding her arms, not defensively, but to steady herself. That's not an answer. The man didn't rush. He calmly capped the marker, set it on the table, and straightened the papers as if order itself mattered more than her authority. Only then did he look at her again. My name is Daniel Cross, he said. And I clean your building. That part one can see, Elena replied. Her eyes drifted back to the whiteboard. What I can't see is why a janitor understands advanced logistics modeling better than half my executive team. A faint smile touched Daniel's face. Not pride. Something sadder. I used to be one of them, he said. Elena waited. 15 years ago, I was chief systems architect at a company very much like Orion. Different name. Same ambition. He gestured toward the equations. I designed frameworks that are still in use today, probably in your competitors' systems. That made her stiffen. Then why are you here? Daniel hesitated for the first time. He pulled out a chair and sat, suddenly looking every bit his age. Because brilliance doesn't protect you from bad timing, he said quietly. Or from doing the right thing when it costs you everything. Elena took a step closer. Explain. There was a data breach, Daniel continued. Massive. Customer data. Medical shipments. Things that could have ruined lives if exposed. The board wanted it buried. Quietly fixed, quietly forgotten. And you didn't agree. I reported it. Regulators. Media. Everyone. He met her eyes. I thought integrity still mattered. Elena felt a familiar, uncomfortable tightening in her chest. She knew this story. Not his, but versions of it. Stories that ended the same way. They called me unstable. Claimed I'd mishandled systems. Blacklisted me. He gave a small, humorless laugh. Funny thing about the tech world, it's very efficient at erasing people. The silence stretched. Elena looked at the books on the table. Academic texts. Industry journals. Recent ones. You stayed current, she said. Daniel nodded. Knowledge is the only thing they couldn't take. Then why janitorial work? She asked. You could teach. Consult. Do something else. I tried, he said simply. No one hires a liability. But cleaning, that doesn't require trust. Just invisibility. That word again. Elena turned away, pacing slowly. The room suddenly felt too small for what she was learning. And this? She asked, gesturing around. The secret room. The late nights. Daniel followed her gaze. I come here after my shift. I think. I solve problems. Sometimes I pretend I'm explaining them to someone who still listens. Elena stopped. That model, she said. Pointing to the board. We've been stuck on that for months. I know, Daniel replied. Your inefficiency rate jumped last quarter. Your bottleneck is in last mile coordination. Her head snapped toward him. How do you know our internal numbers? Daniel's eyes flicked briefly to the janitor's cart outside. I empty executive trash, he said. You'd be amazed what people throw away. Elena didn't know whether to be impressed or disturbed. You realize, she said slowly, that if I report this, accessing confidential material, you could be fired. Or worse. Daniel nodded. That's why I never crossed certain lines. I never copied. Never shared. Just learned. She studied him, really studied him. This wasn't theft. It was hunger. Purpose refusing to die. Why Orion? She asked. Daniel stood and walked to the window, looking out at the dark city. Because you didn't bury a problem last year, he said. The recall. You went public before anyone forced you to. Elena's breath caught. That decision had nearly cost her the company. You paid a price, Daniel continued. But you slept at night afterward. I could see it in the way you walked the halls. She said nothing. For the first time in a long while, he finished, I thought maybe integrity still had a home somewhere. The weight of his words settled between them. At 2:41 a.m., Elena Whitmore made a decision that no board meeting, no risk assessment, no market analysis could have prepared her for. Come to my office tomorrow morning, she said. Daniel turned, startled. As what? She met his gaze, steady and serious. As someone who shouldn't be invisible anymore. And for the first time in years, Daniel Cross looked afraid, not of being seen, but of believing her.